11 rules. Don't touch the candy on the desk. Cremate every child within 120 minutes. Inject sulfuric acid into the skull if the patient attacks. Strange rules. Insane rules. Rules that made absolutely no sense. Until she watched her co-worker cut open his own stomach, eat what he found inside, and smile at her. Rule 11 was the most important. If you see room 1913, do not look at the numbers. Do not open the door. She kept her eyes shut as she passed it. She felt the vertigo. She kept walking. She almost made it. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're reading a story from r/nosleep. Enjoy the video, and while you're watching, I'll be out here surviving in Minecraft. You probably think all doctors are filthy rich. I sure did. 8 years ago. 8 years and a fistful of premature grey hairs later. I'm just a few $100,000 poorer than broke. So when St. Francis Hospital in Charleston, West Virginia offered me a position, I packed my sad life into 3 bags and moved to Appalachia. 19 of us started in July. 13 have since dropped out. I like to think of myself as the rat that wouldn't drown. Most of my incoming class couldn't handle the chief of medicine. Dr. Vivian Scrit is, without a doubt, the biggest monster I have ever met in a human body. On day 1, she looked at all 19 of us and said, "We've got a pool going with bets on how long each of you will last. Don't feel any pressure. My expectations are very low." She peered over her glasses, snorted, and turned to walk away. You should know when to follow me and when to stay away, because I'm not going to waste time explaining what you should figure out on your own. She had printed 18 sets of rules, knowing that one of us would be left without. I watched everyone look down at their list and felt the cold settle in my stomach when I realized I was the one with nothing in my hands. Nobody would show me their rules, so I had to wait until someone broke. It took nearly a week. 3 in the morning. I was rushing between rooms when I saw Myron alone in one of the operating rooms. Myron was the best of us, top 10 at Johns Hopkins. The guy you went to when you were too scared to ask Dr. Scrit anything. Something felt wrong. I approached slowly, not wanting to startle him. His back was turned, arms moving furiously, and then I saw it. Drops of blood flying over his shoulder, which made no sense, because he was alone in the room. "Myron!" I crept around his left side, and the full scene came into view. Myron's abdomen was split open from sternum to pelvis. His stomach was sitting on the table. His intestines spilled out in front of him, and Myron showed absolutely no signs of pain. He was too busy working. He clutched his own stomach in one hand, the folds squirting through his fingers, while his other hand sawed at it with a scalpel, cutting it into ribbons. I tried to scream. It only came out as a moan. That was enough. Slowly, he raised his head. Slowly, he smiled. It was not a happy smile. He stabbed a piece of his own stomach, lifted it to his mouth, bit, chewed, and lunged at me. His guts caught on the corner of the table, and he collapsed to the floor. A doctor and a janitor burst in seconds later, and in the most shocking moment of the entire night, they were not shocked at all. Myron was sedated and removed in under a minute. I was left alone, with a pool of blood, diced stomach lining, and a sheet of paper on the floor, its corner just touching the edge of the creeping blood. Myron had dropped his rules. 3 hours later, I locked myself in a janitor's closet, pulled the chain on a bare bulb, and read, "St. Francis Hospital Rules. Guidelines for New Doctors. Rule 1. Never share your copy of the rules with anyone else. Rule 2. If any doctor displays erratic behavior, leave immediately. Do not make eye contact. Rule 3. If any doctor is detained by someone in a janitor's uniform, do not interfere. Never ask about that doctor again. Rule 4. Never touch any seemingly abandoned Reese's peanut butter cups. Those are Dr. Scrit's favorite candy. Rule 5. Any child that dies in St. Francis must be cremated within 120 minutes of official time of death. If you suspect this rule has been broken, alert Dr. Scrit. The hospital will be evacuated. Rule 6. There is no children's burn unit at St. Francis. If you find yourself there, keep walking in a straight line down the central hallway for 47 minutes. You will not reach a wall during that time. Rule 7. This rule is on a need-to-know basis. Rule 8. A small quantity of sulfuric acid is kept in every room for use only on patients with severed spinal cords if they attack. A hypodermic injection into the cranium is the only way to subdue the subject. Rule 9. The morgue must house at least 13 cadavers at all times. Rule 10. If you find yourself on the hospital roof with no memory of how you got there, you have two choices. Wait for an extraction team or jump 4 stories to the sidewalk on Court Street. Rule 11. If you see room 1913, do not look directly at the numbers. Do not open the door. This is, by far, the most important rule. My heart stopped when the closet door opened. Dr. Scrit was staring at me. Her eyes locked on the blood-stained list in my hand. 5 seconds of silence. Dr. Aphelis, she said slowly. I'm shocked. I said nothing. She looked at me for a long moment. Then the ghost of a smile crossed her lips. Myron couldn't even follow the most important rule, she muttered. Get to work, doctor. 3 hours left on your shift. Those symptoms aren't going to Google themselves. I didn't realize I'd been holding my breath until I heard myself gasp for air. I stepped out of the closet and stopped. Everything was wrong. The hallway looked familiar, but nothing matched. Voices behind closed doors, but no one in sight. I looked around, and then I looked up, and I'll be honest with you, I peed a little. When I read the sign on the wall, last time, I left you in a hallway that shouldn't exist, with a list of rules that told me exactly what to do, and absolutely no guarantee that I'd make it out. Let's pick up right where we left off. I kept my head down and walked. The sign on the wall said Children's Burn Unit, donated by the Friends of Crespwell Academy for Superb Children. This hospital does not have a children's burn unit. I had worked at St. Francis since July. I knew every inch of it, and yet here I was, advancing in a straight line, no corners, no walls, but through a hallway that could not possibly exist. The people were off. A heavy-set nurse with frizzy hair stared at me with open distrust as I passed. I encountered her 3 more times, on the same corridor, even though there was no way she could have moved ahead of me. Another nurse tried to hand me a bag of blood. When I refused, she threw it to the ground. It splattered. I kept walking. My rules had been very clear. Straight line, 47 minutes. Do not stop. I checked my watch. 3:09 a.m. 6 minutes in. Doctor! A resident jumped out of a doorway directly in front of me. The patient is coding! We need you stat! I carefully avoided eye contact and moved past him. Doctor, he screamed, you're killing her! I wiped a tear from my face and kept walking. A minute later, a pool of standing blood stretched wall to wall, 20 feet across, and growing. A man in a janitor's uniform stood beside it, arms folded, staring at me. I didn't think he was actually a janitor. I walked straight through. Squish, squish, squish. Those were my favorite Crocs. I checked my watch again. 3:22, 19 minutes. The hallway went quiet. And somehow that was worse than everything before it. Then I felt it, that specific tension, like someone standing 2 inches behind you, close enough that you can feel their breath on the back of your neck, but you can't turn around. Slowly, a door came into view ahead of me. I could see the numbers. 1, 9, 1. I shut my eyes. The rules had been very clear about room 1913. Vertigo nearly sent me to the floor as I passed it, but I kept my eyes closed for a long, long time after. Miraculously, I didn't walk into anything. When I finally opened them again, It was 3:27, 24 minutes to go. That's when I felt something tug at the back of my shirt. "Can you please help me?" A small voice. Terrified, I stopped walking. I considered my options. Then I kept moving. "Wait," he cried. "Please, I'm really hurt and I need your help." He grabbed my shirt again and started crying. I wiped both eyes and moved onward. The nurses in the hallway screamed at me as I passed. "Doctor, you need to help that child. What is wrong with you? What happened to him?" I pretended not to hear any of it. The boy walked behind me, crying, begging for what felt like 3 miles. I became a doctor because I believed I could give everything to a cause and still get out of bed each morning with my purpose intact. That hallway took something from me that I am never getting back. A change in the acoustics made me check my watch. 3:51 a.m., 47 minutes. I looked around and recognized where I was. Familiar walls, familiar lights. I nearly cried with relief when I saw Lydia, a nurse I knew from this world. She stared at me, her face twisted in absolute horror. "What the fuck is that thing behind you?" My blood ran cold as I felt a small tug on my shirt. Dr. Scrit came sprinting down the hall toward me. "It's been 47 minutes, I managed to breathe. "Should I look at it?" She stopped a few feet away and gravely nodded. I turned around. Imagine a pizza with the cheese stripped off, lumpy, bubbling, occasionally interrupted by chunks of meat on yeasty dough. Now imagine that pizza is a person. That person is a child, with one eyeball hanging from an empty socket. No hair, because all the skin is gone from his scalp, and a gaping hole where a nose used to be. "Help me," he whispered. "Help." His jaw fell to the floor, scattering teeth in every direction, his tongue dangling from his open throat like a dying fish. Then he grabbed my arm in a vice-like grip, screamed, and collapsed. Dr. Scrit didn't even flinch. "Don't be an idiot, Dr. Raphaelis. He was dead long before you brought him here." Together we carried the boy's body through the morgue, down to the incinerator in the corner. His skin shifted under my fingers like barbecued chicken pulled from the bone. Compartmentalize. The incinerator opening was too narrow, so we pushed harder. His charred flesh sloughed off in layers as we forced him through, lumps dropping to the floor until we were pushing his shoulders inside and his eye opened. We were almost done. The boy was wedged in the incinerator door up to his shoulders, one eye still open, still watching us, still trying to bite with a jaw that no longer existed. Almost done. Dr. Scrit pushed his head down without hesitation, and the body slid inside, with the quiet resistance of something that had no business being alive in the first place. The moment it was through, it screamed. Dr. Scrit shoved me aside, slammed a padlock into place, and spun the dial. Then the pounding started. Slam! 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 The padlock swung wildly with each hit. The floor shook. The temperature in the room was already climbing. "Turn it on!" she commanded. She hit a series of buttons behind me, and the incinerator roared to life. 200 degrees. The pounding grew harder. 500. A tiny screw fell from the door and rolled across the floor. 1,000. 100. I was soaked in sweat, standing 10 feet away, and I felt like I was standing inside an oven. Crack. 1,000. 500. "The padlock is bending," I breathed. "The metal is going to melt." "That's why we keep hundreds of padlocks in reserve," she said flatly. 1,700. Slam, crunch, crack. We both stopped breathing. A hand-shaped indentation had warped the metal door from the inside. An impossible dent, pressed outward by something that should not have had the strength or the will to keep fighting. We waited. 1,913 degrees. We waited longer. Nothing happened. The room hummed with heat. The smell of burning hung in the air, and slowly, the silence told us everything we needed to know. "I think," Dr. Scrit said quietly, "that I stopped it." The morgue door slammed open. Another intern sprinted in. JD. A guy who always looked like he'd just seen something he couldn't unsee. "Dr. Scrit, it's Dr. Brutzen. Rule 10. Despite the heat still radiating across the room, a chill settled over everything. Prepare an OR now. He disappeared. She turned to run. What should I do about the incinerator? I called after her. She stopped, looked back at me. Learn to know when things are dead, Dr. Aphelis. A pause. If you want to be useful, take a gurney out to Court Street. The roof is a long way from the ground. And she was gone. Rule 10. My hand went to my pocket. Empty. The list was gone. Somewhere on the floor with the pieces of the boy. I'd read the rules once. And assumed that was enough. I sprinted outside. The night air hit my cold sweat like a wall of ice. I looked left. Right. Left again. Then I looked up. Dr. Brutson was standing near the edge of the roof, 4 stories above me, in the moonlight, and his body was moving wrong, jerking, twitching, like something was pulling him from the inside, or pushing him from behind. He was crying, and with every passing second, he was drifting closer to the edge. "Wait there," I screamed up at him. "Dr. Scritt is coming." "No, no, please," he wailed, and I couldn't tell if he was talking to me or something else entirely. "Don't make it angry. Make them go away. Hold on. You're almost safe. I tried to lock them out. Please. I'm sorry." His body shook like a live wire, jerking and flailing in ways that a body simply should not move. And I stood there on the sidewalk below, completely helpless, watching. The roof door slammed open behind him with a force I could hear from 4 stories down. "No!" he screamed. "No! Stay away! I'm sorry! I'm sorry!" He stepped back from the edge. I exhaled. For exactly 1 second. Because he hadn't stepped back to safety, he had stepped back to give himself a running start. I watched Dr. Brutson, my co-worker, my peer, sprint toward the edge of that roof and leap into the dark. And that is where we leave the hospital. But we're not done yet, because if a place that's supposed to save lives can have rules like that, imagine what can be hiding in a place that's supposed to feel like home. Our next story is also from r/nosleep, and this one starts with something that sounds completely normal. A girl, a dating app, and a guy who pays well, too well. His Tinder profile said 45, but he looked 32, 33 at most. Looking for a sugar baby. $700 a week. No sex. Too good to be true. But I was a broke university student, so I swiped right. It was a match. His message came seconds later. "Hey there, sweetheart." I cringed at that word. But $700 is $700. His name was Jack. He owned his own business, though he never said what kind. After we talked for a while, he asked for my Venmo. The notification came through a few minutes later. I stared at that $700 for at least 20 minutes, waiting to wake up from a dream. But it wasn't a dream. "You still there?" I told him, yeah, and asked what he needed in return. He said he just needed a few favors. The first one, pick up a delivery. He texted me an address, and then the address to his house where I'd drop it off. "I'm not home right now. Keys under the blue flower pot by the door." Go inside and put the package on the coffee table. Make sure you lock the door when you go in, and lock it again when you leave. I was already backing out of my driveway when another message came through. "I'm serious. Lock the door both times, please." A little excessive, but I promised him I would. The house looked abandoned. Broken chain link fence. A gate barely hanging on. Completely out of place, surrounded by much nicer homes. A man appeared in the doorway. Massive. His head nearly grazed the top of the frame. Tattoos covering his entire torso. "You here for Jack's stuff?" Yeah, I guess." "Stay right there." I didn't move. I don't think I could have, even if I wanted to. I looked around. The street was completely empty. I gripped my car keys. A few minutes later, he came back out carrying a cardboard box, about the size of a shoebox, stained and damp at the corners. He set it in my trunk. "All right, there you go." I walked around to the driver's side. "Oh, and one more thing." I looked back at him. "Watch out. I blasted music the whole drive to Jack's house, hoping it would drown out the anxiety. It didn't. The house was enormous. Stone pillars on the front porch. The greenest grass I had ever seen in my life. I got the key from under the flower pot, unlocked the door, stepped inside, and then I remembered what he said. Something made me reach back and lock it behind me. I set the package on the coffee table and was heading back to the door when a phone started ringing somewhere deep inside the house. I froze. My phone buzzed. A text from Jack. Don't answer any calls that aren't from Marvin. I followed the sound, found the phone in his office, looked at the screen. Incoming call from Jack. That was strange. I reread the message, decided not to answer, just to be safe, locked the door behind me on the way out. After that, I did a few more favors. Drove a BMW to a random park in another city, got out, and drove a completely different car back to his house. Met one of his employees at lunch, received a briefcase to deliver back to that first house, and was told he'd know if I looked inside. Several times I just had to go sit in that house with the big guy, whose name turned out to be Julio. For a set amount of time, no explanation given. Total earnings, so far, around $3,500. Then Jack asked me to spend the night. $1,000. There are a few rules. I drove over that evening. The driveway was empty, but the porch light was on. I let myself in, locked the door behind me. On the dining room table, held down by an empty glass, was a piece of paper. I read through the rules. Lock the door when you come in. Only answer calls from Marvin. Don't turn on any faucets between 9 and 11 p.m. Don't open the door for anyone after 10 p.m., no matter who they say they are. If the closet at the end of the hall is open, sleep in the library. If it's closed, any bedroom is fine. The gardener comes at midnight. If he starts knocking on the windows, hide. Turn the TV on and let it play on static through the night. Do not forget to do this. And at the bottom, a little smiley face, and good night. The closet was open. I settled into the library. At exactly 10:16 p.m., the doorbell rang. It's the police. Open up. I didn't move. Hello, it's the police. Open up or we're coming in. I could hear my own heartbeat, then silence, then the doorbell again. Hey, it's Jack. Let me in. It sounded like Jack, but he has a key. Why would he need me to let him in? This went on for almost an hour. Different voices, different names. Each one disappearing when I didn't respond. The gardener never came. In the morning, I heard someone in the kitchen. It was Jack, standing at the stove, stirring something. Coffee brewing behind him. He looked exactly like his photos. Scrambled eggs? I ate, drank coffee, told him I had class. He walked me to my car, stood in the driveway watching me leave. Back home, unpacking my bag, I found the list, read it again, and stopped on one line. Turned the TV on and let it play on static through the night. Do not forget to do this. I forgot. My phone buzzed. $1,000 payment from Jack. Then a message. I'm not in town right now. Back next week. You're free until then. Go do something fun. I read it again. I'm not in town right now. I thought about the kitchen. The eggs, the man at the stove. I'm not in town right now. Then a message from a number I didn't recognize. Did you forget to do something? Attached was a photo. A man who looked like Jack, standing in front of the television. The television was off. Then a second photo. The outside of my house. Then one last message. Watch out. And that is where we leave it tonight. 2 stories, 2 reminders that the world is a lot stranger than any of us would like to believe. A man who cooked breakfast for a girl. In a house he was never in. A hospital where the rules exist not to protect the patients, but to protect the doctors from whatever is living inside those walls. And a hallway that takes 47 minutes to walk, but extracts something from you that you are never getting back. If any of this kept you up tonight, good. That means it worked. Drop a like if you want more. Subscribe if you're new. And leave a comment telling me which story messed with you the most. I read every single one. I'll see you in the next video. And until then, watch out.